Welcome everyone. Those gathered here in the sanctuary of the Spirit, and those who are joining us online this morning. Welcome to this community of all souls. I'm Reverend Bill Sinkford. I'm the minister in residence here this year. Pronouns he and him. Words of Teresa Soto. Can we develop the skill to remember the future? Inspect the compass points of the day that is yet to come. We will need to mourn our losses, but beneath the ashes of our loss lie the embers of our hope. Remember the tomorrow toward which we move. Come now, and let us worship. We light our chalice to kindle the warmth of community. We light our chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Hello, and welcome to All Souls Church. Welcome to a community where our name says it all. Our search for spirituality, our passion for social justice and communal action, and a need to find respite at times with others of similar heart, mind, and heart meet and mingle. Welcome to a place where all people are welcome at the table of love and fellowship. I'm Shari Gilbert, she, her, and we again gather here in the sanctuary and remotely from various locations around the greater capital region and around the world. Regardless of whether you're a lifelong member or someone who happened to stumble across us by chance, and today is your first time with us, you are welcome here. Today's order of service. You can click on the link in the chat or ask to receive one from an usher. To stay up to date on all coming offerings of the church community, please read the weekly church bulletin. It's typically released on Fridays via email. If you're not currently subscribed to receive it, you can sign up via the church website or click on the link in the chat. Life has changed over the past few years. In our community, the way in which we worship and how we engage with one another has evolved with it. For example, our traditional greeting has become a beholding in person and virtually. At this time, if you're joining online, I encourage you to turn on your video and scroll through the gallery view. Although you'll remain on mute, please exchange smiles, waves, and chats as you draw strength and joy from the gallery of faces old and new. If you are in the sanctuary, I encourage you to get up and move around. Greet one another in a manner that is most comfortable for you and others around you. Let us greet one another now, and after this, the choir will sing its song, which I think was supposed to go before me, but we'll greet one another now. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks for the beholding. Let's continue our conversations after the service, and again, welcome to All Souls.
Good morning. I'm Dolores Miller, the Director of Religious Education. My pronouns are she, hers. The All Souls theme for the summer is joy. Joy is a deep feeling of happiness and satisfaction, as we'll see in today's story about Yankel from an old Jewish tradition. Everyone in town knew Yankel. They knew him because he was the poorest person in town. But no matter how much Yankel's family went without during the week, he always greeted the Sabbath with great joy and the biggest fish he could find. He and his wife would cook that fish and invite everybody who wanted a meal to come and join them for a Sabbath feast. People asked him, "Yankel, why do you go hungry all week and then share all your food with others?"
Well, what good is it to greet the Sabbath, the holiest of all days, without joy and great sharing?
It was very tasty. Now, also in this town, lived Lady Filtz. Lady Filtz was the wealthiest person in town. But she could not enjoy all her wonderful possessions because she was always afraid that someone was going to take them from her. So she locked everything up, and she spent all her time checking to be sure that everything was still there. Oh, finally, one day she could take this no more. She decided to just get rid of all her possessions and trade them in for the largest diamond that she could find. This way, she could keep her wealth with her all the time. She could just carry her diamond everywhere she went. One day, as she was crossing the bridge over the river, a big gust of wind came and tore that diamond right out of her hands. Lady Filtz was in a rage. How could this happen? She had lost all her wealth, all her possessions. Well, now a few days later, Yankel was headed into town to buy his Sabbath fish. The fish seller was very glad to see him because she had gotten the hugest fish that nobody else would buy. It was just too big. But he was really happy to have that fish.
Wonderful. We will have a grand feast to welcome this Sabbath.
So everyone again came to his house for the big fish feast. And when Yankel's wife cut open that fish, What do you think she found? The biggest diamond you ever saw. They invited everyone, even Lady Filch and the fish seller came for that big fish meal. And Yankel's family, they were never hungry again one day in their life. The end. Now, please join me in singing the children and their teachers. The K through 5th children are going to the dining room, and the middle and high school are going to the spirit room. The words to Sia Hamba are printed in your order of service. Thank you.
Greetings, All Souls. Woohoo! Good to be with you. I'm Reverend Kathleen Rollens, pronouns she, hers. So wonderful, these sweet June days, and there is so much happening at All Souls, which I just want to draw to your attention. Just two things in particular for today. Today is our annual meeting at 1:30 p.m. on Zoom. Members of All Souls will gather. There are several big agenda items, including selecting new leaders, passing a budget, and hearing important reports about the church's past year and predictions for the future. So we encourage you to please register on the website to attend this important meeting. Also, after today's service, the current Our Whole Lives facilitators will be holding an information session after the service today in the Longfellow Room starting at noon. Our Whole Lives, for those of you that may not know, is a comprehensive sexuality education curriculum rooted equally in cutting-edge science and progressive UU values of radical inclusion and anti-oppression. This meeting will end no later than 1 p.m. to allow attendees to sign on for the annual meeting at 1:30. And for those of you watching online, and if you'd like more information about OWL, we encourage you to please email James Pleasure. His email address is in the chat. As you heard at the beginning of our service today, there are many other events happening at All Souls. We encourage you to look at the e-newsletter and the church's website for the most up-to-date information. But now, I would like to turn the pulpit over to our board president for a special announcement.
Good morning. Good morning. So my name is Neil Manzullo. I'm the current president of the Board of Trustees. And for many years, dating back to the early 1980s, Unitarian Universalism has had 7 principles. Many of us know these by heart: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, respect for the interdependent web of all existence. We also, though, refer to our faith as a living tradition. There's a hymnal that says living tradition in front of you. And these 7 principles have been static for almost 4 decades. So what does it mean to be a part of a living tradition? Well, there's a November 2000 editorial in UU World by Warren Ross, and it traces the development of these 7 principles. And it looks to what was at the time the far-off future of 2020, when Unitarians might identify inadequacies in the principles and expand them or rewrite them. This process, Ross says, is rightly called renewal or regeneration, and is part of the genius of our faith. Today, the board is honoring an All Souls congregant, Paula Cole-Jones, who is renewing and regenerating our faith. Paula is a lifelong member of All Souls. She exemplifies our mission to create a diverse, spirit-growing, justice-seeking, beloved community that transforms ourselves and our world into one great family of all souls. Paula has helped Unitarian Universalists seek justice in numerous ways by organizing educational and dialogue efforts like Jubilee trainings and Adore, a dialogue on race and ethnicity, which created forums for Unitarians to talk about race and white supremacy culture, and by co-authoring a new principle, the 8th principle, which states that we commit to journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. 4.5 years ago, All Souls adopted the 8th principle, adding it to those 7 principles. At the time, I think we were the 2nd church to have done so, and in the years since, Paula has advocated across the country for this principle to be added to our living tradition. And she's been successful, really successful. Today, June 5, many churches are having their annual meetings, and they are voting on whether to add this 8th principle to their living tradition. And Paula expects that after today, more than 200 churches will have added the 8th principle to our living tradition. Yeah. So this is a wave. It is a wave of regeneration, a wave of renewal, and it's a wave needed not just by our faith, but by our country, and Paula is one of the leaders of that wave. Paula has also worked to create the beloved community here at home. 25 years ago, when the church dismissed Reverend Aldridge, Paula led the reconciliation work that was needed because of the hurt stemming from a public and painful break with a Black minister. She then co-chaired the search committee that found Reverend Hardees, who served here for almost 2 decades. And when the church 4 years ago experienced another painful break with a Black minister, Reverend Dr. Newman Moore, Paula again led the reconciliation work, including as one of the initial co-chairs of the transformation team. That team, which was also led by Ken Ambrose and then Pam Spar and Derek Robinson, helped create a path to reconciliation and the transformation of our church. Many of us here, including myself, are more spiritually whole people because of Paula's work. And so because of her work, because of her friendship, because of her mentorship, her care, her intelligence, and her wisdom, the board is awarding her with the Paula Cole-Jones Transformation Award. We'll post this in Pierce Hall, and I ask that everyone join me in celebrating Paula Cole-Jones.
Hi, everyone. Gary, I don't know if this is a time for me to speak or not. It is? Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Neil. It's been great getting to know you over the years. I want to thank Reverend Kathleen Rowlands and Reverend Bill Sinkford and the Board of Trustees for creating this award. And thank you to all of the people who have been a part of making this happen. You know, when I said yes about 25 years ago to helping the church to do reconciliation, I had no idea that it would be a journey through so many years across the country and even internationally, meeting Unitarian Universalists in Africa. When my mother chose All Souls to send her children to about 60 years ago, it was a chance for me, it was a place where my early values were being shaped. And in the last 25 years, All Souls has been a place where I could put those values into practice in a real way. And that helped to give rise to the eighth principle. I want to say that this church has a legacy of love and justice, and the church has a vision of what is possible in the beloved, building a diverse community. The legacy and the vision of this church are worth fighting for. They're worth our investment of time, talent, and treasure. And it's worth sharing in society because we sure need so much more of this. This society would be safer, healthier, and it would be a better place for people to live if more of the values that we practice here were shared. So, this recognition is a sweet reward. But maybe one of the biggest rewards of all has been the many relationships that I've gotten to build right here at home and around the country. There are about 40 people meeting this weekend in a Jubilee training, which we will pick up right after the service. And there have just been so many people who daily give me and we give each other the inspiration for keeping this work going, a sense of belonging, knowing that we are never alone, and a sense of hope for the future, that things can be better. And finally, I want to give a thanks to my family, who many of them are here today, and to friends who have come. I love you. I look forward to seeing you. And again, this is a deep appreciation for all that All Souls stands for.
Friends, we have so much for which to give thanks. So I invite you now to join me in a moment of silent gratitude for the friends which sustain us, for the work that inspires us, for the love that holds us, and for the gift of this community, which both challenges and changes us. We hold now a moment of holy silence. For all those prayers which lie unspoken on our hearts, we hold them close this day. Amen. Testify. I stand before you to say that today I walked home and caught the light through the fence, and it was so golden I wanted to cry. And I lifted my right hand to say, thank you, God, for the sun. Thank you, God, for the chain link fence and all the shoes that fit into the chain link fence so that we might get lifted. Thank you. And I just wanted to dance, and it feels so good to have food in your belly, and it feels good to be home, even when home is the space between metal shapes. And still, we are golden. And a man who wore the walk of hard grounds and lost days came toward me in the street and said, "Girl, what a beautiful day." And I said, "Yes, testify." And I walked on, and from someplace a horn rose, an organ, a voice, a chorus, here to tell you, we are not dead. 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 We are not dead yet.
We are not dead yet. But there is so much that we need to hold. So many are fallen. The fallen fourth graders and their teachers in Texas. The fallen grocery shoppers in Buffalo. 240 mass shootings just so far this year, and counting 4 more just this weekend. But also the fallen black and brown individuals who had the bad luck to encounter the police in so many cities. The fallen fighters and the innocent citizens of Ukraine. So many fallen to COVID. The numbers of the fallen that we have to hold test even the capacity of our loving hearts. These losses are alarms that major change is so long overdue. And yet we question whether our divided country can come together around even modest change, the most modest. And that questioning of hope, that may be the biggest loss of all. It would be so easy just to hunker down, try to close out the news of the world, focus instead on those close to us, where love and joy still have a chance, or seem to. Except the world just keeps pressing in closer and closer, it seems. Despair is not far from some of us. And let's be honest that the cascade of losses can build a pretty convincing case for despair. Or is our best religious response a kind of grim determination to resist all of the hate and all of the loss? And we will resist. There are marches here in D.C. next weekend and the week after that, and many of us will be here. I know that some of you will be there. I know. But we may find, even in that resistance, we may find that we resist the violence with hearts that are hardened almost as much as those we criticize. The response of fighting back still means that we're in a fight. Now, I think many of us have known each of those reactions: denial, despair, and determination. All of those in recent days, I know that I have. But despite all of the losses, we also seem to be emerging from the very worst threats of COVID, beginning to reconnect in person, tentatively, I grant you. More handshakes. I gave a few hugs this morning. And we're here, in person or virtually, in this space where the story for all ages about generosity and joy brought a smile to more faces than just mine. I was watching. And the energy and the joy of the choir brought that anthem to life and our hearts alive as well. How the Lord delivered Daniel from the lion's den and Jonah from the belly of the whale. The message in this sanctuary is that suffering does not need to be the last word. That there is liberation and joy that are possible too, and that we are not dead yet, and we are not done yet either. Joy and woe are woven fine. We sang that line from the William Blake poem in that first hymn. Joy and woe. Is there a connection between suffering and happiness that we need to know and to name? What do we expect of life? How much do we deserve? Do we have to earn happiness by our good works or our faithfulness or even our suffering? How do we believe this all works? The theological waters, they get deep pretty quickly in those questions. In both the Judeo-Christian and the Islamic traditions, it's the story of Job that speaks most directly here. You remember the story, most of you, I think. Job is prosperous, wealthy, even blessed with a lovely family, and he's a model of gratitude and faithfulness to God. And God is pleased with Job. Satan, however, always looking to undercut God, says, well, of course Job is faithful. Look at the life you've given him. How faithful would he be if he lost all that and he had to suffer? And God agrees to test Job. Now, I need to note that this does not say much good about God. But Job suffers and he loses everything, including his family and his health. And he does question God, but he remains faithful. And God, finally, after ranting about how powerful he is, were you there when I laid the worst foundations? God finally restores Job's health and his privilege, makes him even wealthier, because Job's faith survived the test of real suffering. Undeserved suffering is rewarded in this story. Now, there is so much to be preached about the Job story, but I want to hold up just a couple of themes to bring this story into our current theological space. First, Job was faithful before God tested him, but he was also deeply privileged. For him, the world was a safe and a comfortable place, and the depth of his suffering came in contrast to his previous privilege. For those of us experiencing our current losses as unjustified and somehow unfair, as the ending of a sense of safety that we deserve, remember Job. And remember that many of us, most of us to some degree, because of our race or because of who we love or our gender identity, because of our immigration status or our English facility, many of us do not experience the world as a safe place. And most of us know that whatever sense of safety we have is a fragile and a temporary thing. So, first, remember how privilege works in our lives. And I know that you all have some understanding of privilege. This congregation has done the work. I was so pleased to be preaching when Paula Cole Jones was honored this morning. But to take this a step deeper, we need to be aware of what story we are living in and what story we are living out of. Is it the story of a lost Eden of comfort and safety to which we want to return? Clint Smith, in his new book, The Way the Word is Passed, visits places that illustrates the way slavery has shaped and still shapes how we live. The first site he visits is Monticello. Have most of you visited Monticello? Any of you? Any hands on? Quite a lot of hands going up there. Tours of Monticello still tell the story of Thomas Jefferson's Enlightenment ideals, the beauty and symmetry of his architecture, and the language of freedom he penned in the Declaration of Independence. That language which made Unitarian Universalism proud to claim Jefferson as one of ours. Today, however, those tours also offer the story of the enslaved persons whose labor built Monticello and allowed Jefferson the leisure for political service and his intellectual pursuits. He enslaved 600 persons in the course of his life, including children that he fathered and their mother. So Jefferson as paragon of enlightenment, or Jefferson as enslaver. What story are we living in? What story are we living out of? Clint Smith writes, I think that history is the story of the past using all of the available facts, and that nostalgia is a fantasy about the past using no facts. And somewhere in between is memory, which is this blend of history and a little bit of emotion. I mean, he writes, that history is what you need to know, but nostalgia is what you want to hear. Is the world a welcoming and a safe home for us? Is that what we want to hear? Or is it a place where danger and violence can be real and suffering can be visited on any of us? Is that what we need to know? Now, despair, I want to assure you, is not our destination this morning. But the truth of the world demands that we recognize the presence of evil and of harm. We need to resist the pull of nostalgia that would deny the truth of history. Discovering joy does not, I'm sorry to say, save us from the inevitability of hardship and heartbreak. I'm quoting Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Yet, as we discover more joy, he says, we can face suffering in a way that ennobles rather than embitters. We can have hardship without becoming hard, have heartbreak without being broken. Hardship without becoming hard. The Archbishop is asserting a different relationship between joy and suffering. He's saying that joy can allow us to be present to the suffering in ways that do not lead to despair. And that therefore, there is an urgency, a spiritual urgency, to have joy in our lives. I believe there's theological work that we Unitarian Universalists need to do here. Our founders on the Unitarian side had a hard time acknowledging their privilege and how it shaped their faith. And the Universalists, so hopeful about God's love, had a hard time engaging a world in which love seems to lose so often. The Unitarian Universalism that we hope to live into in this church, it cannot deny the evil that is present in the world and the capacity for evil that is also present in us. Evil not as the intention to do harm, but evil as the outcome of our living, or both of those. And I believe the Unitarian Universalism that we hope to create here points to relationships, not only as the source of accountability, but as the source of joy. Can we imagine that the way to heal our own pain is by turning toward the pain of others? Is the best treatment for our own sense of loss working to end the loss of others? And could this become a virtuous, a self-reinforcing cycle? Again, from the Archbishop. The goal is not to create joy for ourselves. That's not the goal. The goal is to be a reservoir of joy that can ripple out to those around us. Now, isn't that a hope worth opening our hearts to? Is it possible that in turning toward one another, even as we mourn all of the losses, that we will discover a connection and a sustaining love that can hold us and help us live as we actually want to live? Now, we're going to need more than one sermon to make that journey together, that's true. But we are also going to need art and music and ritual, because somehow we can't just skip over the losses and go directly to the hope. Our spirits need to acknowledge the losses before we can take that step. And if we were all here in this sanctuary, I would invite you to come forward for a prayer and a blessing. We would have an altar call here to physically bring the losses forward so that none of us has to carry them alone. But we're not all here in this sanctuary. We have so many folks with us online. And physical closeness is not yet a comfortable place for many of us. But we can all come forward in our imagination, come forward in spirit, those here in the sanctuary and those online. We can all share a virtual altar call. So let me invite you, wherever you are now, here or at home, let me invite you to get comfortable wherever you are. And take a deep cleansing breath in and out. Close your eyes if you wish. And another breath in and out. You hear the music calling you and calming you, and feel your heart joining a rhythm of the Spirit. Imagine our ministers standing at the front of the sanctuary. Imagine them inviting you to come forward, inviting you to bring your loss and your fear, to bring your broken heart to the altar, to bring your anger and the determination that threatens to harden your heart, to bring your identities that live in threat and your privileges that protect you, and we all have those as well, to bring them all. There is no hurrying, because you know that you are being asked to bear witness to your life, and it cannot be rushed. And so you sit and wait and watch in your imagination. as person after person comes forward, is greeted by a minister, you see the minister look directly into their eyes and place a hand on a shoulder. A word of blessing and a prayer are spoken. And you finally find yourself rising in your mind and moving forward yourself. You are drawn by the music and the moment toward the blessing and the abundance that is the way you want to live. And as you come forward, perhaps you discover that your eyes are beginning to tear, not with sorrow, but with relief. You have needed to weep for so long. And you reach the minister, and they nod and look you in the eye. They see your beautiful face and complex nature, and their hands grasp yours, and you hear them ask, "What blessing do you need?" And you may not know what you answer, but you hear the words of blessing begin to wash over you. You are blessed, and your presence in this world is a gift. You are part of a larger love that holds and heals us all. That love is there within you. That love is here around you to comfort you and to give you strength. I need you. You need me. We need each other. We're all a part of God's body. You hear the blessing, but you also begin somehow to feel blessed. You realize that your shoulders, which have been so tense for so long, have relaxed and dropped, and that your breaths are coming easy and are filling you with clarity and with strength. You are a blessing. You are loved. You are love. And you find that your hands have been released and that you are returning up the aisle still feeling the blessing move through you, feeling cared for, feeling whole for the first time, perhaps in a long time, at least for this time. And you may think, or you may not think at all, but know somehow that your life does matter. Your life does matter. Your life does matter. Open your eyes now as you are comfortable. Begin coming back. Open your eyes and know with a certainty that you may not have felt in far too long, a certainty that the affirmation you feel now is real, and that despite all of the evidence to the contrary, it truly is possible for us to live in that love and to live out of that love. It is possible. It is possible to know that joy. Amen.
We were supposed to have a party last night. When I realized I'd be serving as worship associate today, the morning after the 200th birthday celebration, I thought, oh man, I'm going to be tired. My feet will hurt from dancing. I might have a little headache. Well, as good as I feel this morning, and I did wear my party dress that I would have worn last night, I'm so disappointed that we had to postpone the party. It was going to be a blast. It will be a blast. Live jazz and hors d'oeuvres out on the terrace, a buffet and sit-down dinner in Pierce Hall, and then a DJ and dancing. Note to self, we still need to source a disco ball. And the kids would have their own pizza and movie party downstairs with childcare provided. And there were other surprise party features sprinkled here and there. So all the details were in place for a fabulous party. And other than the disco ball, the only thing we hadn't planned for was a COVID cancellation. But the party will go on. We have an early fall date in mind, and notices will start going out over the summer. The party and everything else that happens here at All Souls is only really possible with your generous support. If you are on Zoom, you can click on the link in the chat. You may also text ASCU to 73256 to make your offering. Thank you for your generosity.
tree of life. Us in our closing hymn, number 95.
We've all got a right to the tree of life, and we insist that there can be more love right here, and that there can be more joy right here in our lives, because we're not done yet. This is the day we have been given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.
How much of my mother has my mother left in me? How much of my love will be insane to some degree? And what about this feeling that I'm never good enough? Will it wash out in the water, or is it always in the blood? How much like my father am I destined to become? Will I dim the light inside me just to satisfy someone? Or will I let this woman kill me, or do away with jealous love? Will it wash out in the water, or is it always in the blood? I can't feel the love I want, I can't feel the love I need, but it's never gonna come the way I am. Could I change it if I wanted? Could I rise above the flood? Will it wash out in the water, or is it always in the blood? How much like my brothers do my brothers wanna be? Will a broken family become another broken family? Or will we be there for each other like nobody ever could? Will it wash out in the water, or is it always in the blood? I can't feel the love I want, I can't feel the love I need, but it's never gonna come the way I am. Could I change it if I wanted? Could I rise above the flood? Will it wash out in the water, or is it always in the blood? I can't feel the love I want, and I can't feel the love I need, but it's never gonna come the way I am. Could I change it if I wanted? Could I rise above the flood? Will it wash out in the water, or is it always in the blood? Oh, 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 I can't feel the love I want, I can't feel the love I need, but it's never gonna come the way I am. Could I change it if